I only want Lions. Apparently, that's what CHIVU has said to Marotta, Ausilio, and the Inter board. What does that mean? Why am I saying that? Well, Giovanni Leoni, his name literally in English translated means Joseph Lyons, Leoni Lions, and according to reports, that is the only request CHIVU has made to the board. So that's what we're going to discuss today. And I don't know what to call these, Inter Transfer Daily, I guess we could call them. I'm not making promises that it'll be daily, but regular transfer updates on this channel. So make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And thank you everyone for the kind words and people that reached out after my community post, just updating you guys on things that are going on, on the personal level. And I appreciate your support, but also thank you for sharing some of your stories, or also going through some similar struggles with trying to find work and that kind of stuff. That's life, I guess, but life moves on. And Inter, keep us busy and keep me busy and keep this channel busy, keep me going. So let's get into it. Giovanni Leoni, according to Gianluca Longari, who is a pretty good source. I rate him very highly, actually, in terms of sources when it comes to Italian transfer market news. Actually, not just Italy. He's not as big as the other guys, but when it comes to reliability, I really like him. And according to him, the only one request that CHIVU has made to Inter's management in the market, and that is Giovanni Leoni. And Ausilio Marotta will try to please him. And this is, again, we know this. We've wanted, or should have got Leoni last summer. I know it's easy to say now. When we wanted him from Sampdoria, we could have got him for 5-6 million euros, loaned him back to Sampdoria, loaned him to Parma. But instead, we got Thomas Palacios for 7.5 million. It is what it is. Now, Inter, what they want to avoid is the situation of Bremer, Buongiorno, Scalvini, kind of Scalvini. But, let's say Bremer and Buongiorno, we know two players that Inter wanted, especially Bremer. We were in negotiations for the whole Skriniar situation that happened. We couldn't get the money in quickly enough in time. Juve moved in. They sold De Ligt, got Bremer, boom, out of the way. Buongiorno, we wanted him, but again, we couldn't sell anyone. We didn't have the money. Boom, Buongiorno is gone. So two key players that probably are, I think people would rank them if you just made a, not form-wise, but a hypothetical on paper version of Serie A 11. You have Bastoni in there, especially if it's back three. But the other two probably are Buongiorno and Bremer, even after his ACL. Bremer, let's see how he comes back. But in terms of the level of centre-backs in Serie A, we let two of the best at the moment slip through our fingers. So what Inter want to avoid doing is what many feel and what Inter clearly feel is the next potential Buongiorno, Bastoni of the Italian centre-back machine, factory making, centre-back making machine. So this is, and now this one is from Gazzetta. I'll believe this when I see this, because I struggle to believe this one, that Inter is actually willing to change the strategy. If you saw my video the other day in talking about Inter budgets, the Excel sheet, make sure you check that video out if you haven't. I was talking about how, giving credit where it's due to Oak Tree, but I think now, after spending over 60 million, I think some sales need to be made first before we move ahead. But apparently, Inter like Leoni so much that they're willing to say, forget about the sales right now. Let's just commit. We want to get this guy at all costs without making a player leave first. And 30 million euros is ready for the 18-year-old. But what is the issue? The issue is, and this is confirmed by a couple of multiple sources, is Parma are really pushing the price up. They know the boy is in demand. Juve won him, of course. If he is the next great centre-back, then all the big Italian teams want him. Juve won him, Milan won him, and Inter won him. But if those three teams won him, and if other teams have scouts in Italy, which of course they do, we know all the other leagues, especially Premier League, love to snap players from this Serie A. Saudi Arabia now, they're snapping up players from Serie A like it's a joke. Before the Premier League teams come in and snap him up, you need to go in and snap him up. And maybe that's what's pushing the price up. Maybe there are other bids that we don't know about within this negotiation, and Parma are really trying to push the 40 million. What Inter are trying to bank on apparently is that they're even maybe willing to leave Leoni to Parma on a loan for a year. But I usually am in favor of those types of deals. But when you're spending 30 plus million on the player, no, you got to bring him in and you got to play him. So I don't think Inter are going to do that if they're spending that much money. Not even if we were, back in the Moratti era. When it comes to players that you sign for 10, 50 million, like let's say Adios, what I said when we signed Aslani, leave him again at Empoli for another year on loan. That makes sense. When you sign a guy for 30 million and you think he's the next great centre back, you should bring him in, learn from De Vrij or Cherby if they're staying from Bastoni, and let him, grow in that way. So that's the Leoni situation. I definitely am starting to warm up to it. Like at the beginning, I was starting to think like Parma, they're overpricing him. We've only really seen him for 3 or 4 months, but CHIVU knows him. So that's the key. We've got a coach that has literally brought him through. He's the one, because before CHIVU came in, Leoni was playing, not playing, in and out of the team really. When CHIVU came in, he made him an important player in the team. And that's when we saw him his big performances against Lukaku, against Inter, and against Milan as well, if I remember a good performance. That's CHIVU was this changing point. And then of course that kind of when I'm reading now that if you think you're going to let the next great Italian centre back slip through your hands, you definitely don't want him to go to Juve or Milan. So that's where I'm standing. Like, if this is the guy, I don't think he's like ready right now. Maybe I don't think he's going to come in and take it to the next level, because again, he's 18. He's going to make mistakes. There's going to be some growing pains. He's not the finished article. But in this new project, if that's the guy that you want to bring in, bring him in. Make sure you do what needs to be done to bring him in. And you guys let me know what you guys make of this Leoni situation. Overpriced, but even if you do believe he's overpriced, would you pay the overpriced value because that's including that future potential, or would you pivot? Now no one's talking about Scalvini. I mentioned him earlier. Scalvini, who after his ACL, of course, is never clear how he come back from an ACL, similar to Bremer. Scalvini has come back, but obviously you kind of need to give it almost another year once a player comes back from ACL to really start judging him. But again, we know that Inter liked Scalvini a lot a year, 2 years ago. If you still believe in the fundamentals of the player and the potential of the player, this could be the time to bring him in when Atalanta are not going to charge you for the moon. But again, Atalanta now, after all these sales they're making, Ruggeri, Retegui, these guys are making big bucks. They don't have no obligation to sell right now. So anyone from Atalanta is a pain. So that's the Leoni situation. You guys comment down below on what you make of all of that. Let's move back to, of course, the hot topic of the summer at the moment. Hakan. How many times have we discussed Hakan? How many times have I said the name Hakan Calhanoglu? So now the other day, the reports from Italy and Romano here say that there was a 10 million offer on the table from Galatasaray, which Inter obviously are not going to accept. Inter want at least 30, or at least sit down on the table at 30. And I kept prepared to keep the player. Sky Sport via Di Marzio said Hakan has never asked to be sold or leave Inter. The soap opera is ended now. I saw some of you guys commenting on my video the other day when I made the budget video, and you guys said apparently we don't need to, now that this has come out, it doesn't mean that Hakan is staying. Like, just because Di Marzio has now said the soap opera is ended, it's not ended. It's just ended for maybe this week or next couple of days, because Galatasaray are busy with Osimhen. They're trying to land Osimhen from Napoli. That deal is sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. Sometimes they got the money, 70 million, 75 million. They're spending their money there first. But I'm telling you, these guys are going to come back for Hakan. This saga is not over. And clearly, Beppe Marotta's style of coming out clearly with it and trying to force the player and Galatasaray into a corner hasn't worked. So there's that. So we'll see how that goes on. More positive news on the outgoings is that Tajon Buchanan could be on the way out to Sassuolo. That badge obviously scares a lot of Interisti. Our arch nemesis, our bogey team, are coming back to Serie A. But when they did go down to Serie B, I always said I hate them. Of course, we hate them all as like our bogey team, and they're just painful. And they've scammed us for players in the past. CNC, and maybe we've overpaid for Frattesi, but whatever. They've done it to many Serie A teams. But actually, Sassuolo, not many people know this, are actually quite rich. They're quite a rich Serie A team. Their owners are quite well off, and they're actually able to spend money. And then in the past, they've helped Inter out. Like, they bought Mulattieri off Inter in the Frattesi deal. No other team was going to spend 6-7 million to buy Mulattieri off us. They bought Pinamonti of us. They spent like 18-20 million euros to buy Pinamonti of us. So they're the type of club that have that type of money to spend, and they have helped us in the past. And here it looks like they're going to help us with the Tajon Buchanan situation, because he is looking to leave. As we said, there's no space for Buchanan here. Apparently they're close to signing him. The deal has not been closed yet, and the deal is rumored to be 7 to 8 million euros, which is pretty much what we bought him for. I think we bought him for 7.5 million on the books, it says. So we make our money back, and there's a buyback clause. Maybe there's a future sell-on clause in there. I think, I put in my video the other day, I put 10 million. Looks like we won't even be. Maybe, if we just wait a few days, maybe some La Liga, Bundesliga, Premier League clubs might be interested. But I don't think we're going to get anything more than 10 million. But apparently, Sassuolo are still working to convince Buchanan. I'm not sure if Serie A really is the best fit for Tajon. So let's see how that happens. They might not be able to convince him. He might not want to be fighting for relegation, to be honest. But at least some positive news on the outgoings. Another one on the outgoing is Sebastiano Esposito. Again, I was saying, I think I said about 8 to 10 million for Esposito. Now it's even lower than that. Again, we know, we mentioned in that video, the problems with Inter are mainly when it comes to selling players. But at the same time, the market makes the price. And if that's what teams are willing to pay, that's what teams are willing to pay. So Esposito, according to Gazzetta, is close to joining Fiorentina, but there was also an offer. Let me see if it comes up here. No, it's not here. But it was also an offer from Cagliari for 7 million. Apparently, there's a bit of a bidding war between Cagliari and Fiorentina now. But I just want to see Seba get a permanent deal now. He finally seems as if things have clicked for him. But I still don't really think he's into material. Let's make some money out of him and wish him the best of luck. Interesting kind of background from FC Internews ET, which says Bologna, Napoli, Lazio, Fiorentina, Cagliari, Parma, Como. There's literally 80% of Serie A there. FC Basel, Leicester City down my road, Ajax, Nottingham Forest down my road. They all wanted Pio Esposito, whether on loan or to buy him. But Inter have said no to every single one of these guys, and he will stay with the first team. We already know that, but it's nice to see the amount of offers that Inter have said no to. So that means Inter do believe in this muscle man. Here is another, this one from Romano, saying Inter and Sassuolo discussing for 8 million plus sell-on clause. So similar to the Gazzetta, talks are ongoing. Frattesi had an operation on his ongoing hernia, so that was probably the issue that has been bugging him, similar to Taremi. I wonder if Taremi had an operation on it, because he said he was struggling with the hernia. But he made a post on Instagram. I don't know if you guys saw it, making a joke that on the operation table, saying, I asked the doctor if he could do something about my feet. It's an Italian way of like joking, but saying that your feet have been put the wrong way around. And then out of all people, the person making fun of him who reposted that story was Denzel Dumfries. I was like, bro, another guy whose feet are probably mounted on wrong. But it was funny little moment. And, self-awareness from Frattesi there as well. And the news that I want to close the video on is Alexander Stankovic, Inter's youth player, who is in advanced negotiations with Club Bruges in Belgium for a permanent move. Check out the Inter Extra podcast, by the way, plug there. Alexander Stankovic was the only operation discussed today during the meeting between Inter and Club Bruges. So there was reports that here's the Cagliari news for Esposito. Let me find a. Sorry about this, guys. Oh yeah, so yeah, yesterday's meeting between Club Brugge and Inter for Stankovic was positive. Brugge pushing to sign a 19-year-old, and Inter's one condition is that a buyback clause has to be inserted. Now that's good, but the issue is that according to Sasha Tavolieri, which I don't regard him as a good source at all, but he is Belgian-based, so at least that's that. But according to him, Inter have agreement in principle for 10 million, let's say 8 plus 2 for Stankovic, but the buyback clause is 28 million euros, which is stupid. The whole point of a buyback clause is that it gives you the power to bring the player back, but for a good price. You should keep the price quite low. Let me give you some examples. This is not me just being, ranting and wanting to moan Auxilio for poor negotiations. And the Spanish teams are actually the kings at this. Alvaro Morata, when Real Madrid sold him to Juventus, they sold him for 20 million euros. The buyback was 30 million euros. Dani Carvajal, Real Madrid, again, sold him for 5 million to buy Leverkusen, bought him back for 6.5. Gerard Deulofeu, Barcelona, sold him for 6, bought him back for 12. I mean, there you could say that's double. Denis Suarez, Barcelona, sold him for 4, bought him back for 3.5. Actually, I don't know how true that is. They bought him back for less than they sold him for. Callejon, Real Madrid, for free apparently, and then they bought him back from Espanyol for 5.5. Again, I don't know. This is from ChatGPT, by the way. But yeah, Como, let's say Como and Real Madrid for Nico Paz, sold him for 6, but then the buyback is like 8 this year for Real Madrid, 9 next year, 10 million next year. That is, if you're selling him for 10, then I would say 18, 20 million euro should be the buyback clause. This is almost triple the amount. That is not good. That is not a good buyback clause if you believe in the boy. Let me see. Yeah, and then here is Inter denies any rumors, according to Daniele Mari, of any agreement reached. And then the final news is, despite the direct talks, there has been no agreement. In Bundesliga, Hamburg is also interested. So yeah, I mean, if Club Brugge are only going to agree to such a high buyback clause, let's wait. I think there is going to be demand. I think there are going to be other teams wanting Alexander Stankovic, thanks to the great year he had last year. So let's wait. There were some rumors that Inter tried to negotiate another player with Club Brugge, which was really, again, this is why I don't like Tavolieri, because he said that we tried to insert ourselves into the AC Milan deal for Yashari. But here Matteo Moretto says no, he denied those rumors. So yeah, that's why I don't really rate that Sasha Tavolieri as a source. Apparently, we like a centre-back called Joel Ordonez from Club Brugge, Ecuadorian 21-year-old, but he has not been part of any of the negotiations. So yeah, let's see what happens there. As always, you guys let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments down below. Leoni, Esposito, Stankovic, Hakan is all. I mean, I think we've got enough views on the Hakan situation. Let me know your thoughts on everything else. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Keep you updated in the coming days. As always, ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter.